Should we do one more song or not?
Let's do one more.
Okay,
Surprise us with
let's do
something.
Little Star.
Okay.
For something completely different.
Okay. What was the inspiration for this?
For which?
Little Star.
Lola.
Oh.
Otherwise known as Lourdes Maria.
Ah. How's she doing?
It's my one super sentimental song on the album.
Well, everybody should have one of them, I think.
Exactly. Where's my engineer?
Send out the pass signal.
Well, we always bring Lola in when we're like 3 chords away through the song, and if she grooves to it, then we know we're in the right place.
Is she pretty accurate about that?
Oh yeah.
Hello, listeners. This is David from In the Lap of the Pods Queen podcast, and you are listening to another episode of Trimming the Musical Fat. Slanjava.
What's that smell?
Oh, that would be me. I've been swimming in raw sewage. I love it. I love it! That's the signal, let's go. Do it. Great.
Hello, we're back to express ourselves with another episode of Trimming the Musical Fat, the podcast where we trim albums that are too damn long. I'm Stephen Nicholson.
I'm Paul Nicholson.
And thank you for joining us as we take our invisible scissors to Ray of Light, the Queen of Pop Madonna's hugely successful 1998 comeback album. What's going to make the under 50-minute single vinyl TTMF Supercut of the album? Frozen? Sky Fits Heaven? The Power of Goodbye? Nothing Really Matters? Well, keep listening to find out. We'll also find time to do regular features like Joke of the Pod, Tale of the Tape, Critical Reception, Trim the Talk, archive interview clips, and the final questions.
Madonna's brilliant new album, Ray of Light.
If I could melt your heart, substitute for love.
Ray of Light. Nominated for 6 Grammy Awards. From the artist of our time comes the album of the year, Madonna, Ray of Light.
It's the Tale of the Tape. Ray of Light is the 7th studio album by American singer-songwriter Madonna, and it was released in early 1998 by Maverick Records. A stylistic and aesthetical departure from her previous work, Ray of Light is an electronica and techno-pop record which incorporates multiple genres, including ambient, trip-hop, psychedelic music, and Middle Eastern music, while also seeing Madonna singing with greater breadth and a fuller tone. Mystical themes are also strongly present in both the music and lyrics as a result of Madonna embracing Kabbalah, her study of Hinduism and Buddhism, and her daily practice of Ashtanga yoga. There are 13 tracks on the album, and they are Drowned World / Substitute for Love, Swim, Ray of Light, Candy Perfume Girl, Skin, Nothing Really Matters, Sky Fits Heaven, Shanty / Atangi, Frozen, The Power of Goodbye, To Have and Not to Hold, Little Star, and Mere Girl. The album is 67 minutes in duration, which means we need to lose at least 17 minutes today. There were 5 singles released from the album, and they are Frozen, which was released in January of 98, Ray of Light in April of the same year, Drowned World, which was released in August of 98, The Power of Goodbye in September, and the final single, Nothing Really Matters, which was released on the 2nd of March in 1999.
It's almost psychedelic, dare I say.
Yeah. Drug music without drugs.
Yeah. Is that possible? Well, I guess it is.
None of us are on anything. It's possible if you have really free people.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what drugs do. They free your mind and give you the feeling like you have, no inhibitions. You can go anywhere
So you're just in touch with your inner whatever. And
My inner self.
yes.
Well, I'd like to think I am. I mean, I've come a long way. I used to think I was in touch with my inner self, and then I realized that was my inner ego.
What's the difference?
Because the ego is all, gratification for yourself alone. It's not very much sharing and kindness and generosity.
So does this have anything to do with having children? Because children, of course, put something in your life that gives you something else to live for besides yourself.
It has a lot to do with that. I mean, I think probably having hers set me off on a new way of thinking, and then I've just gone down a different road, period. And good for it. It was very good for me, too, because then the writing of this record and the working on it, where I was going allowed me to be much more free and experimental.
Hey, this is Marv from Pods Like Us, the show where we help you to find your next podcast addiction. And you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat, a show where Paul and Stephen tell you all you need to know about and more about the music that you love.
Ray of Light received universal acclaim from critics. Stephen Thomas Erlewine from AllMusic called it Madonna's most adventurous record and most mature and restrained album. Paul Verna of Billboard commented, easily her most mature and personal work to date, Ray of Light finds Madonna weaving lyrics with the painstaking intimacy of diary entries and wrapping them in hymn-like melodies and instrumentation swathed in lush, melancholy ambience, with forays into classic house, trance and even guitar pop. Sal Saquemini of Slant magazine described the album as one of the great pop masterpieces of the 90s and stated that its lyrics are uncomplicated, but its statement is grand. And Madonna hasn't been this emotionally candid since Like a Prayer. Rob Sheffield's review for Rolling Stone called the album brilliant, but was critical of Orbit's production, saying that he doesn't know enough tricks to produce a whole album, and so it becomes repetitive. Ray of Light sold 16 million copies, selling almost 9 million copies more than its predecessor, Bedtime Stories, with an extra 54% increase in sales. The album went to number 1 in the UK and went 6 times platinum. In the US Billboard album chart, it went to number 2 and went 4 times platinum. The equivalent album sales on top of this were 67,000 for the album, which was a 40,000 increase on Bedtime Stories. The most streamed song on the album was Frozen, with 25,000 streams.
Okay, so it's time to introduce our very special guests. So Caroline and Marissa have top Scots pop duo, The Eve. So welcome, ladies. How are you?
We're good, thanks.
We're good. How are you?
Oh, absolutely fantastic on this very rainy day in Edinburgh.
Summer's well and truly gone.
I know. So what's been happening with you guys recently?
So it's been quite a busy year, actually, to be honest. We've been on tour with singer-songwriter Horst MacDonald. So that started back in March. That went through to the summer there. And then we're picking it up again, actually, next month. So we're about to do some of the shows that were cancelled last year and this year that were postponed. So we're off to Cardiff, Liverpool in early November. And then we've got Perth Concert Hall at the end of that month. We've got our own headline show at the Harbour Arts Centre in Irvine. That's on the 19th of November. And we are hopefully going to be announcing another tour support as well, but we'll keep that under wraps at the moment. Still doing the final touches to that. So.
Okay, sounds exciting. And I suppose as a band, it must have been in some ways, was it frustrating the last couple of years? Where obviously we're kind of coming out of the lockdown and the COVID pandemic, and for a lot of people that really put the brakes on what they were doing. So as a musical group, that must have been frustrating in its own way, not being able to play live and such like.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think for the first few weeks we were kind of flummoxed as to what to do over that time period, but we quickly got into action and just decided to write loads, and we recorded remotely about 10 tracks, which we've been kind of releasing over the past year or so, and that was really good for us actually to get that time, because if you compare it to this year, for example, we've been gigging a lot, so we really haven't had much time to write or record as much as we would like to. So I think, it was good to have that time to record those singles and have some stuff to release. But certainly, yes, it was frustrating because it made you feel like, well, we're just going to get left behind, but then you think everyone's in the same boat, so everybody has to stop. So it was a bit frustrating because we had a few irons in the fire with some labels and stuff.
We did, yeah.
So that kind of put the brakes on that. So that was a wee bit frustrating, but we put the time to good use.
We certainly did, and I think, the fear that we had actually coming out of lockdown and getting back to live events was, well, are we going to get any gigs? Because there was like such a backlog, and we struggled actually for that first kind of 6 months after lockdowns ended. And I think last year we had like a handful of gigs, like you're talking maybe 2 or 3 gigs, and we got to the start of this year thinking, God, how long is it going to be before we're able to get back out to do shows, to get opening slots? Because it was just fierce. Like everyone was out there back again gigging. All the venues were booked up months ahead. All the festivals were booked from like the 2 years before. So we're thinking, what is actually going to happen this year? And then fortunately Horse got in touch in early March to say, do you fancy coming on tour, ladies? And we're like, yes please. That was like 18 dates with her. So, and then things just kind of blossomed from that, and we opened for Belinda Carlisle this summer as well. So it was certainly from the start of the year thinking, how's this year actually going to go, to sitting here now almost at the end of the year going, I haven't got 5 minutes to actually scratch my behind right now. It just goes to show it's so unpredictable in music. Anything can literally happen. Anything.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about the Belinda Carlisle support slot. Did you get to actually meet the great lady herself?
No, she ran past us to get in her big fancy car because she had a gig the next day, but she was very nice actually. She sent us a message the next day because she had to do a bit of a flyover. So after her set, she had to get in the car and drive down to Liverpool. So they just had to get going, and she sent us a lovely message next day to say she enjoyed her set, it was really great, and sorry that I missed you girls, but I had to do a quick flyby drive to get down to Liverpool. So it was nice just to take the time out to message us because she didn't even have to do that. So yeah. But yeah, it was a great experience. It was a sold out show, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, yeah. One of her best gigs. And she was amazing as well. So like
such a pro.
Just amazing. Like I didn't see any decline in her voice at all.
Right.
Yeah. Have you there's a good documentary on, I think it was on Sky, about her band the Go-Go's. It was quite interesting.
Didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still on, but it was about the Go-Go's and kind of where they come from and everything, and then how I think Jane Wielden was in the band as well, and she became a solo act, quite successful as well, and then Belinda Carlisle. But yeah, she's good.
We should check that out. But was there not a little bit of rivalry between her and Madonna at one point, or there was a bit
possibly,
of a yeah,
probably.
Yeah, in the 80s, yeah.
I think that was from was it Truth or Dare, the documentary she done?
That's right, the video that she did, it was Truth or Dare. I think she mocked Belinda Carlisle, didn't she?
Yeah, I think
right.
You know,
she mocked her voice.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Or In Bed with Madonna, it was called here, wasn't it?
In Bed with Madonna, yeah, I think it was
Over here.
UK and America.
Bed with Madonna.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, yeah. Now, Belinda Carlisle was the second ever concert I ever went to at the Edinburgh Playhouse. Yeah. So I seen it in 1988, I think it was.
Wow. The golden years.
The golden years, heaven is a place on earth.
That's it. That's it. There was a few albums around there, I think, in the late 80s and early 90s where that was just like epic Belinda. Just absolutely brilliant songs.
So she had a great voice. It was a good concert. Of course, my first concert being very trendy was Aha.
I'm a big Aha fan as well. We both went to the cinema, was it a few weeks ago, to see their new
What's
movie
the
that's
film?
like called True
I've seen
North.
it, yeah, on TV,
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
I've got their vinyl coming next
have
week.
you?
Oh, aye.
Of
Big
the new
fan.
album?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the new album comes out, isn't it?
True
Yeah.
North, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was quite. I thought it was quite interesting. You think of a band as friends and do everything together. With these guys, it was a business arrangement, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah. I think so. But they were a big inspiration to Coldplay and Keane and other bands like that. So you just think, I think they struggled to shake off that synth pop of the first kind of 2-3 albums, and then they became a proper rock act, and I just don't think they've ever managed to shake off the boy band synth pop thing.
It's a shame. Scoundrel Days, the second album, is superb.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant album, yeah.
He's got a great voice as well, Morton Harkett, because it wasn't until I was watching a lot of the videos and I was thinking, he's got a brilliant voice, because you sort of, sometimes maybe in the past you would dismiss them as like boy band almost, but actually he did some brilliant stuff, and he's got such an amazing voice. And it's good now that they're finally getting the credit and cited as influences for a lot of artists, like you were saying, Keane and Coldplay and stuff.
Yeah. He's got a good range. He can go up to the falsetto pretty well, can't he?
Oh, yeah.
Crazy voice. So let's get back to the Eves. Now, you were saying you were obviously writing and recording during lockdown there, and that bore fruit because you had a couple of hit singles there, and you're playlisted by Radio 2. So what was it like starting to hear your singles on the radio?
Amazing. Still never forget that day when
I was crying all day, I think.
She was actually pacing the floor like a pregnant lady. We got texts and we didn't know. We obviously knew we'd put our song forward like every other song, to hopefully be listened to and picked for something. But we're Radio 2. I think how many artists get playlisted each week?
It's not many.
Handful.
It's not many, and you're competing against major label acts.
It's maybe like 4 or 6 people maybe get added to the playlist each week.
Wow.
The best of the best, all the big names and everything. So I think, was it a Monday morning?
It was a Monday morning because we'd put out our single Brand New Day, obviously. About a month before that, I think. I think it was a month before we'd put it out. And then
no, the first play we got on the Monday after the Friday releasing it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. So the playlist came later, but the first play that we got on
was it Ken Bruce?
Ken Bruce's show came in the morning because we'd had it was quite a busy weekend because we charted in the iTunes chart and things like that, and we'd been busy plugging it all weekend, and Monday morning we were pretty tired, but we started getting some texts in from friends and family saying, you guys are going to be played on Radio 2. We just heard Ken Bruce say your name, and we were like, no.
Brilliant.
So Caroline was pacing up and down waiting for it to come on.
I actually had to speak to my manager at work at my day job to say, I can't physically or mentally function right now. I need to wait until my song's being played on the radio. And she was like, it's fine, Caroline, just log off for 2 hours. Like, it's fine. Seriously, just go and enjoy it. So it was great.
Yeah, I think that was the best moment for me in our career so far.
I sobbed. Sobbed and sobbed. As soon as it was played, I felt all of the years of hard work and trying and highs and lows just completely pour out of me. It was just like it was just like such a release.
Obviously we've had loads of radio play over the years, but it's always been on my bucket list to get played on Radio 2. It's always been my favourite station, and I think it's the most listened to station in the whole of the UK. So it's a really big validation. When they pick you against, all the other amazing music out there and all the well-known people, we're unsigned, so
shoestring budget and doing it ourselves and thinking, God.
So we didn't expect that when we wrote. It was brand new day.
It was Brand New Day.
We wrote that in lockdown.
It was a 2-chord track, wasn't it?
In the flat,
in the flat, because I think we'd been rehearsing, and then I was doing some noodling on guitar just to wind down at the end of the night, and I was playing this little melody, which is the start of Brand New Day, as you hear it on the piano now, but I was doing it on guitar. And then Marissa was like, what's that? And I was like, I don't know. I just made it up. She was like, play it again. And I played it again, and I played it again. And she was like, right. And the next thing, she's sitting at the piano. And then the day after I went out for the day, I came back and she'd written the song. It was all done. It was like amazing.
Yeah, they're the best kind of songs that they just come to you. It's like it's almost like you can't remember. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you can't remember thinking of a lyric or thinking of a melody or anything like that. It's almost like they just come to you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and then all of a sudden you've got a song and you think, how did that happen? Like it's like somebody gifted it.
Sent to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite strange.
I think so.
It happens a lot of the time.
It must be some feeling to actually to achieve that. 'Cause how many people achieve that? You know, you've created it yourself, as you say, you're working on a shoestring budget, and you've managed to achieve something major like that. And it's a great tune as well. I'm not just saying that to be polite. I remember when it came out last year, if I'd seen it, you posted it, Caroline, and well, let's give it a listen. I went, this is really good. I like this.
Thank you.
We're sharing that with friends. So yeah, no, it's here's to many more. So have you got any new stuff? I think the last song or last single was out in April.
That was Big Love, yeah. That was Big Love. That was our first co-write that we released, actually. So we did that work with Jim Duguid, who he wrote the first album with Paolo Nutini, These Streets. So we wrote that with Jim and also Lewis Gardner. Did that, put it out. It got a couple of spins, I think, on Radio 2 on a Jay Borges show, which was quite good. And it's also now the anthem for Scottish women's football as well. So they've adopted that as their kind of official anthem for 2022 and 2023 league season. So that was the last one we put out, and we had planned to put out a couple more singles this year, but we've seriously not had a minute. It's been mental.
It's just you get to a point where you just like we can't do everything, you know, when you're traveling like around the country and also having to keep up with other jobs as well, because we both got other jobs, and try to fit it all in. It's almost impossible sometimes, but you know, the touring's been great this year, and
it's been amazing.
You know, we'll get on releasing some new singles next year.
Definitely.
Good. Well, me and Paul will need to get along to one of the shows.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Hopefully you'll be doing Edinburgh at some point.
Hopefully, we had hope for this side of the year, but we don't think that's going to happen just with the dates that we've got that are coming up. And so yeah, I think it might be next year now.
Okay.
Is it because Murrayfield Stadium's being used? Is it? It's fully booked. Is that...
You've rumbled us. That's it.
Rumbled, yeah.
There must be rugby on it. It had to be. Couldn't be anything else on that day.
So, before we get to the Madonna stuff, I'd be quite interested to know for each of you, what would you say are your top 3 musical influences? So maybe start with you, Marissa.
Oh, you've put me on the spot.
Oh, yes.
The first one for me was Alicia Keys. She came out, I had recently just started playing piano, classical piano, and didn't really think about, you know, singing alongside the piano. It was always just a kind of, you know, standalone instrument for me. And then when she came out, released songs in A minor, it just totally blew my mind, because she was merging the two. She was merging the classical piano alongside the pop vocals, and it just like, that was it for me. That was kind of like a moment where I thought, yeah, I want to do something here. And I would buy her piano books, and I would learn all the parts to the songs and sing along, and so she kind of sparked it all off for me. I would say I'm quite a bit of an old soul when it comes to music. I like a lot of the old stuff. The Beatles, definitely a big influence for me, alongside Stevie Wonder, Carole King, you know, all the greats. I'm aware that I've mentioned more than 3 there.
That's all right. That's good to know where you're coming from.
But they definitely all influenced me. More recently, I would say artists like First Aid Kit, Jade Bird, Leanne Havas as well. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No. Nope.
She is a really, really talented vocalist. Probably one of my favourite vocalists of all time.
Okay.
Her alongside a Scottish artist called Tamzine. Both their vocals are just, to me, they're just perfection. I just absolutely love them. So if you haven't heard them, definitely check them out.
We'll do that. And favourite Beatles album?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I could choose. I just think not every song they produce is amazing. There's a few duds in there. But yeah, I just think their songwriting, in terms of 3-minute pop songs, I just think they can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Over to you.
Hey. Yeah. What about you, Caroline?
It's very hard to whittle it down to top 3. I think what I'll do is I'll focus on bands that I got totally obsessed with, like that I just bought everything they ever did
Backstreet
at some
Boys?
point in my life. So
One Direction.
That's it.
So if we go way back, the band that we're talking about at the start of the show was Aha. That was the first album I bought on tape cassette. It was the Hunting High and Low album. I played it non-stop.
Classic.
And I've bought a lot of Aha's material since then. So they were probably one of the early bands that influenced me. I love synth and electronic music, and that's what really pulled me in. Then I was a mad Erasure fan, so I've got umpteen vinyls, CDs and CD singles, just absolute pop perfection up until a certain point. I think at some point it started to tail off a bit, but they had that kind of golden spell. From like the Circus all the way through to the Erasure album, I think, and the pop hits. And then I think after that it kind of tailed away for me. But I love that. And then probably getting into that singer-songwriter vibe, it has to be Alanis Morissette in terms of just the rawness and the lyrics that she writes. And at that time that she was out, she was so original and no one was like her. In terms of Jagged Little Pill, I think that's one of the best-selling debut albums of all time by a female artist. And so I think that's acts I was totally obsessed with, but I've got such a wide range of acts that I love now, that I've loved throughout the 80s and 90s, like I think of Yazoo, I think of Alison Moyet, I think of Duran Duran, the Foo Fighters, Nirvana, BT as a dance electronica artist. I've got such a wide range. Eddie Reader, that's a wee bit more closer to home, so it's very, very difficult to pin it down to 3. So hopefully I got away with that.
I think you got 20.
And of course Madonna,
Madonna,
We'll chat about her later though, eh?
Eddie Reader for sure, actually. I forgot about Eddie Reader.
Yeah.
I listened to that Dear John album on loop.
The Candy Floss and Medicine album.
Oh, I love that as well.
Yeah.
Right. What did you, Caroline, go and see Alanis Morissette's more recent show in Glasgow where she was doing Jagged Little Pill in its entirety?
No, I didn't manage to go. I have seen her live about 3 times now, 3 or 4 times. But again, I feel like she hit the golden spot, and I just think that it's not where it used to be anymore. So, but that's what happens, right? It's got to dry up at some point. So
it's hard to
except if
sustain
you're
that.
U2 or the Beatles or whatever, but
I know. Well, let's talk about Madonna then, and between the 4 of us, what our level of fandom is, and can we remember? I hate my phone. Go away. And if we can remember what our first ever Madonna purchase was, cassette, record, CD, whatever it might be. So Marissa, I'll maybe start with you. What's your kind of level of fandom when it comes to Madonna?
I wouldn't say I was a particularly huge fan, but I basically lived with her music right from being a tiny tot, up until fairly present day. So like I can remember singing along to some of her 80s hits just when I was a tiny little girl, and wanting to be her and thinking that she was amazing and stuff. So there's definitely a bit of influence there, but I wouldn't say I was a particularly massive fan. And coming to your point about what first purchase, I don't think I've actually purchased anything of hers.
Oh.
Shame on you.
And that's probably because when she was kind of, I think at her peak in the 80s, I was still quite young at that point and not really. I didn't have any. I was too young to be buying stuff. And then I think by the time I got to age of buying tapes and CDs and things like that, it was all about the boy bands. It was Take That, for me, all the way, and and the girl bands as well. So that kind of took my focus. So I haven't actually purchased anything of Madonna's.
Well, you kind of have since you bought Ray of Light for Caroline. So
Oh, that's true, actually, yeah. I'll take that.
I can maybe give you that one, yeah. You kind of have, you just gave it away.
Also, I was going to say, even if you stole it from a shop, you've not purchased it, but you've still got it. Just...
Paul, you trying to say Marissa's a shoplifter? This is great.
No, invite
people on your show. A shoplifter.
I think a vinyl record might be quite hard to sneak under your jumper.
Yeah,
I think a cassette's a little bit easier, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Caroline, what about you?
I think my first purchase was a CD single, and I think it was Open Your Heart. I think that was my first purchase. It was either that or it was the Like a Prayer CD single. So one of the two. I think back to, I would go up to HMV at the weekends in Virgin up in the town in Edinburgh. I would take my pocket money and I'd go up and I'd be browsing the CD singles for hours. And I could see this special limited edition CD singles that have got 6 versions of the same song on it and everything like that. So I'm sure it was either Open Your Heart or Like a Prayer. It was one of those two. And my level of fandom is, again, I kind of developed an obsession for a bit and I bought a lot of stuff. I bought a lot of singles and albums and read up on quite a lot of what she would get up to. I have seen her live once as well. I'll save that for later. So I would say that my level of fandom peaked in the 90s, early 2000s. Then it was reinstated with the Confessions on a Dance Floor album. I was like, oh, she's still good. And then from then on, I've kind of changed in my tastes and acts and more singer-songwriter-y type stuff. So,
okay,
medium. If we have to scale it, that would be medium fandom. Yeah.
Okay. Paul, or Brother Paul? Don't have to call you Brother Paul tonight. Paul.
Yeah, sound like I'm a monk or something, brother
Paul.
Yeah. So a level of fandom, a bit similar to what ladies are saying there, that probably late 80s, early 90s, and I think I had that obsessed spell, maybe I suppose being a teenage boy, and obviously Madonna was quite provocative. So it was you've got your posters on the wall, and then I remember going to see Dick Tracy.
You said Dick Tracy there. I really wondered where you were going.
I know, that's not my nickname. So, going to see that and then getting the Immaculate Collection vinyl. That I think it was Christmas 1990, and then buying In Bed with Madonna, even though I was under 18. I think it was an 18. Anyway, buying the video on HMV or something. And but I really liked her stuff, even when I was younger, before I bought music. I really liked her 80s stuff. And like I say, you're at that age as a teenage boy where, like I say, Madonna was quite provocative. So,
she stirred something inside you, Paul.
She did, yes.
And he's never been the same
true story.
since.
It's a true story. Me and my friends, it was around the time of the sex book, but this was a book that was done in the late 70s of her modelling. And there used to be a record shop in the Waverley Market called Coda.
Yes, I remember it.
Yeah, and I think it was near there was like a bookshop, and it had old Madonna pictures. So we used to always go in there to get a wee look in the book. Madonna's pictures from before she was famous. So being teenage boys, we'd go and have a So But going back to the music, yes.
Moving swiftly along.
I know.
This is almost like a confessional, isn't it?
I know.
I didn't know this.
So my first record I probably bought was either Like a Prayer or Immaculate Collection. And I remember all the singles, obviously. But I have to say, in the last 20 years, actually, I don't know, I don't like her as a person, I have to be honest. You know, I just think pre-Madonna, no pun intended, you know, it's kind of like, for me, up her own backside a bit, to be honest. But
we're going to talk about her backside later on, intended, and so I think you're wrong about your first purchase. I remember you buying The Look of Love from Who's That Girl? You bought the 12-inch.
That's right. So, see, you know, you're better than me. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, for me, I'm similar to you, Caroline, more of a casual fan. I don't own everything. I've kind of dipped in and out over her career. She obviously rose to prominence when I was first getting into music in the mid-'80s, so she was just always been there. And I struggled to remember the first thing I bought. I loved La Isla Bonita. It's a brilliant song. I'm sure I got that on a compilation album at the time, so I didn't buy it. I think my first Madonna purchase was probably 94, the Take a Bow CD single.
Oh, that's such a good album on the Something to Remember album. Such a good album.
Yeah, so Take a Bow, which is a brilliant song, and I'm sure it was #1 in America for weeks and weeks and weeks. And here, it was their first song not to go top 10 in, 10 years or something?
Yeah, ironically enough, one of our best songs, and it was our first song not to go top 10 in the UK.
I know. It's a great song. Good video as well. Really good video.
Yeah.
So there we are. Let me explain. So it's time for us and our guests to get into the groove as we trim the top, the feature where we're all asked the same questions and have to answer them all in under 3 minutes. Let's hope nobody gets frozen in fear. Are you ready, ladies and Paul?
I think so.
I am, yes.
Okay, and we're off. So, Caroline, describe Madonna in 3 words.
Iconic, fearless, and unique.
Ballsy, fierce, and creative.
Controversial, shocking, talented.
Okay, for me, provocative, sexy, pop. Have you seen Madonna live? So I think, Caroline, you've already answered yes.
Yes, it was the Confessions on a Dance Floor tour.
I haven't, no.
On TV, I've seen her.
Okay.
I've seen her at a live concert, but not actually in person.
Okay, I have seen her live. I'll talk a bit more about that shortly. Favourite Madonna album?
I think it's True Blue.
Same for me, True Blue.
I'll go for our follow-up, Like a Prayer.
Yeah, a Ray of Light or Like a Prayer. I'm going to say Like a Prayer. Favourite Madonna song?
I think it's Like a Prayer. Yep.
Like a Prayer. Okay.
Yep.
Papa Don't Preach.
Papa Don't Preach, great song.
True Blue.
I'm going to go Liza Bonita. Favourite Madonna decade?
90s.
80s.
60s. 80s.
I'm going 80s as well. So what were you doing at the time of the album's release, which was February in 1998?
I was studying accountancy at Napier University.
Rock and roll.
Boring.
First year of high school for me.
Working in Queen Margaret College.
Okay, yeah, I was working at talking of boring, I was working at a bank in the centre of Edinburgh and about to move on to another role, which was infinitely more interesting. When and where did you first hear the album?
It was the Frozen single that piqued my interest. I was watching MTV on the sofa with my dad. I bought the album from that point.
Okay.
I can't really remember, to be honest, but I think it probably was Frozen single as well. I remember the video for that one particularly. Yeah.
I think you had the album, didn't you, Stephen?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's when I had the singles as well, like Frozen and then Ray of Light as well.
Yeah, I've probably first heard it in my car CD player. Favourite track from the album?
It was close, but I think it's Frozen.
Same for me.
Ray of Light.
Yep, Frozen for me. And your least favourite track on the album?
Shanty I think. Shanty Ashtangi.
Yeah, same for me as well.
30 seconds.
And you guys want to do a cover of it right now?
I would embarrass myself.
Me and Paul will do the instrumentation. Yeah, sorry.
Get your bongos out.
Dick Tracy again. I would agree with that song that I can't even pronounce it properly, so I'm not going to attempt.
Yeah, I'm going to just
That
be
one.
different and say Skin. Album rating out of 5.
I'll give it a solid 4.5.
I'll go for 3.5.
I'll go for 3.
I'm going for 4.5 as well. Before we move on, I just want to talk about having seen Madonna live. So you've seen her on the Confessions on a Dance Floor tour, Caroline. What was that like? And where did you see her? What venue was that?
It was in Manchester. I can't remember the actual venue, but it was huge. It was like a big arena thing, and she had all the dancers, and they all had like their rollerblades on or their roller skates, and we were all doing these like flips and all the stuff they were doing up and down ramps, and very, very high energy. Absolutely phenomenal. And I think she also played guitar and stuff as well. Like she did wee bits in the set that, well, you think it was her playing. I'd like to think it was her playing and singing sort of stripped back stuff as well, which was really, really nice. So yeah, it was a fantastic show.
Yeah, I think you're lucky because for me, that's her last great album.
Yeah.
Confession on Dance Floor. It's a really, really good album. Like how all the songs, it's all just one song after the other there, all links into each other, which is quite unique. Well, I got to see her at Muddyfield in 2012, or was it 13? And it is the most disappointing concert I've ever been to.
Oh, no.
Which was... Why? Well, we kind of went into a previous episode on this, episode 44, for those that want to listen to the specifics. But yeah, I think most people that went found it disappointing. And I think it was one, maybe 2 or 3 different things. One, because of local restrictions, she didn't do an encore. So you missed out on a couple of really good songs. The show very much focused on the current album of the time, which was MDNA. And it was predominantly done in daylight as well. I always think with shows better at night with the lights. And there was a lot of issues around ticketing at the time where it wasn't sold out. So the promoter, remember that? The promoter decided to put it on likes of Groupon and so on. So people were getting tickets for a fraction of the price, which left a lot of people who, like me, who had paid £100 or something. Kind of a lot of people's noses were out of joint about that, and it was a shame because see, when it was good, it was fantastic. For example, Like a Prayer, that was one of the best things I've ever seen in concert when she done that, and the whole crowd were singing along. So it was a shame when there was these kind of 2 or 3 highlights, and it was brilliant. But I
suppose a lot of those things that were, I suppose, not that great, they were out with her control, like the sound restrictions and the lighting and the time of the concerts and stuff, because that'll all be organised by her management team and tour management team. And I feel a bit sorry for her that they started to offer tickets on Groupon. I mean, all of those things are external factors that she's got nothing to do with. Like, that's a real shame. Yeah.
Yep.
I think at the time, obviously I wasn't there, Stephen, but there was some. I think some people were quite upset with her because did she not have like a pretend gun on stage or something?
Yeah, there was some
and I think
controversy.
there'd been a shooting like at a school or something quite recently before that. So I think people thought it was a bit in bad taste, I think.
That didn't bother me. I mean, that's artistic expression and, but yeah, just a kind of confluence of a number of different things which just... unfortunately spoiled it, but hey ho, that's life. Let's talk about the album itself, and so maybe start with so you're well versed in this album, Caroline. What do you think of it?
I think it's brilliant. And actually, I have to go back because obviously you asked me in the 3-minute section what your favourite album was. And I said True Blue, which was actually possibly slightly controversial because I do love Ray of Light. I just think with True Blue, it's got so many of the early hits that I think of really fondly. So it's very hard to pick the one album that you would want to play over and over again because there's been so many of them. But I think, Ray of Light for me was such an artistic departure for her. It was so different. Her voice has never sounded as good as it has on that album because I think it was on the back of the Avita voice coaching that she'd been getting before that. So her voice, it had a depth to it, a depth and a warmth that you don't get in her very, very early pop songs, which are quite sort of high end and nasally at times. So I thought it was so different. I think it really captured a mood, a point in time, a vibe that people really bought into. And that's what kind of struck a chord with me.
Yeah. What about you, Marissa?
I don't know. Individual songs on it speak to me, but I don't think as a kind of album as a whole, I don't know. It feels a wee bit experimental in places, and it just, for me, Madonna is kind of all about the really catchy songs. Like, she's a catchy pop artist, and I think that was missed in some of the songs. Having said that, I think Frozen is probably one of her best songs vocally, certainly. And I think I would reiterate what Caroline said about the fact that she'd had extensive vocal training for Evita, and then I think you can hear that put into practice in Ray of Light, I would say. So yeah, experimental in places, but I think maybe what she was going for here was, a mood and a kind of something a bit different that hadn't been done before. So I would give that to her, but definitely not one of my favourite albums of hers.
Okay, Paul, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree there, what Marissa was saying, actually, because sometimes, in many ways, it's great because it's like in some ways, it's like a comeback album.
Yep.
But it feels, and that's the reason one of the reasons we do this podcast is because it feels like there's maybe too much. Well, there is, in my opinion, there's too much on it. There's almost like too much variety, but it just doesn't feel cohesive. And I think the technology at the time, some of it works with her voice, but sometimes it feels like she's just trying to maybe cash in on the technology available in 1998, 97, 98. Whereas some songs it works, some it doesn't, some it makes it sound dated, that sound. But I do applaud her for having the balls to do that as well, I suppose. Yeah.
I think if you get to her level where she's had so many pop hits and albums before that you get a bit bored doing the same thing, and you want to go down a different track for a bit, and you want to try things. And I don't think she's been purposely set out to cash in on a experimental vibe working with the most recent person out there, because I think from reading about this, she'd tried writing with lots of people and lots of different folks on the production team, and it just wasn't gelling for her until she got in touch with William Orbit, and I think the sounds on it now are obviously quite dated, and when you hear the production back then, it was obviously very limited. I think the better songs are the ones that have got the real instruments and strings on them. Like your Frozen, they're absolutely timeless songs, but the ones that have more technology on them are the ones that don't seem to work anymore.
Yeah, I did read as part of the research, Caroline, that William Orbit didn't like to work with real instruments. He was quite happy with the computers and the synths and everything.
Samples and that, yeah.
Which was quite interesting. But I agree with you, yeah, like The Power of Goodbye, Frozen, where you do have that more traditional sound in tandem with the stuff that William Orbit brings to the table, work best, yeah. I mean, for me, I think Madonna's always changed her sound and image from release to release, and I know from the time, I think she brought out Bedtime Stories in 1994, and I think there was maybe a feeling in the public consciousness that maybe she was running a bit out of steam and people were getting a bit bored of her at that point, because really Madonna was in your face for what, 10, 11, 12 years by that point. Always something going on with her. So I think people were maybe tiring of her. So yeah, I think the best thing she done was she kind of took that little bit of time off. She did a Vita. Her voice improved with the coaching. She became a mum. And I think her mindset changed quite radically on the back of that. And I think then you had this, which was very much, I remember at the time, seen as a comeback album for her, a make or break album for her. Did she still have it? Even though it's only a couple of years after the previous album. So it's arguably the most important album of her career. And I think the part that she played fantastically was the image she conveyed with this, which really went very well with I think the album's got this kind of ethereal sound to it there. The lyrics are very much about looking back at your life and craving fame and the mistakes you've made and, you know, the pain that fame has cost you, and now moving on to this more, the second part of your life with motherhood and, you know, finding real love and such like. And I think that maybe chimed with a lot of her fans who were growing up with her, who were moving into that stage of their life there. So I thought I think she played that beautifully, along with these really, really strong set of songs. My only criticism or two criticisms of the album are, I think, where I agree with Marissa and Paul, it maybe perhaps plows that electronica sound a bit too much on it, and maybe could have had more variety. For example, the Like a Prayer album, or even True Blue, there is more variety of types of tunes on there. And I think a number of the songs on this outstay their welcome. I think, was it Skin? Does that really need to go on for 6 minutes?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So
I know it was actually pretty unusual to see all the lengths of the songs on the album, because you wouldn't have that now. It's like songs are now pretty much half the time, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing either. I don't think music's in a great place at the moment, and we're talking about the electronic stuff and all that, but everything's now electronic, from like even manipulating your vocals to samples of real instruments that are being used instead of people actually playing them. And certainly that's a road that I think you have to be careful with.
I think song lengths are, for me, I think that the song itself dictates how long the song should be. You know, you can listen to, you know, a Beatles song, for example. I think She Loves You, I'm sure, is like, it's well under 3 minutes. And for me, that's just perfect. You know, we've heard the hooks, we've heard the lyrics, we know what the song's about. And by that point, when it ends, it's like, that's a great song. And usually pop songs are between 3 and 4 minutes. And for me, usually if a song goes on much longer than 4.5 minutes, I'm kind of thinking, okay, you know, wrap it up now. But there are always exceptions to the rule, I think.
Well, I think Radiohead and the single they put out was what, 7.5 minutes with Paranoid Android, or was it 11 minutes? I can't remember.
No, it's about seven. It's
pretty long.
Genius.
Genius. So yeah, so I think, you know, I think, to be honest, it's up to her what she wants to do, right? She's paying for this album to be done. She wants to work with who she wants to work with. She's expressing herself in her own way. The success that she's had, good for her.
I think any artist that can stay in the public eye, stay fresh and keep reinventing themselves. I mean, she's a wee bit like David Bowie in that respect, and she just keeps reinventing herself.
Yeah.
And coming back and being relevant again. And I just think for anyone to do that for that length of time is absolutely extraordinary. I take my hat off to her.
Absolutely. Absolute legend.
What is the rest of the album like? I mean, there are how many songs? 13, something like that?
14.
14.
But I'll only put 13 on because 13's a lucky number.
Yeah, it is? How is it a lucky number?
13 is the age when, that's why boys get bar mitzvahed at the age of 13, by the way. That's the age when the soul gets completely, like, sort of solidified in your bodies. When you come into your own.
Is this one of those Kabbalah things?
Yeah, it is.
So you've been doing some spiritual searching.
Yeah.
Kind of. When this is done, and when the record finally comes out, it's been a long time since you toured
Yes,
touring
you
again,
know
or-
what? I really want to tour with this record because I just like love it. It has so much cool energy, and it would be great. If I have to sing like a virgin, I'm going to kill myself.
Well, you don't have to do that. Because, you know.
I know. I don't even want to sing Vogue. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like that's like 100 years away from me.
So which songs are going to be cherished by the panel tonight? Which are going to be on the borderline of selection, and which don't have a prayer? It's time to create the TTMF Supercut of Ray of Light. For this, for selection, we're including all 13 songs that featured on the original release of the album. So before we talk about the songs, let's talk about the album cover artwork. So what do we think? So Caroline, I'll maybe come to you first on that.
I think it's very vibrant, very eye-catching. I've done a bit of research on it, but I don't want to spoil it in case you want to chat about it. But I think it's no. So I think the photographer that took the photo was a chap called Mario Testini or something. He's him. Yeah, him. And apparently she had the shoot booked with him, and by about 2:00 in the afternoon, she wanted to wrap up. She's like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm tired. I want to finish." And he's like, "But I don't have the shots yet." And basically had an argument with her to say, "No, look, you need to keep on going." And it was the last shots that he took after that ended up being on the album artwork. And it's apparently a Dolce & Gabbana raincoat that she's got. So I think it is really eye-catching. It's really bold. It's got blue, all the colours of like air and water and stuff. And I think her hair looks amazing in it. Yeah. And she just looks in the prime of her life. Like she just looks really radiant to me. What about you, Mary?
Yeah, it was a really nice shot. I think I liked the kind of turquoisey blue background, and I thought it was a kind of satin shirt she had on, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was a raincoat. Is it raincoat?
It is, yeah. It's a plastic raincoat or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Or silk pajamas.
Yeah, it's a great shot. I think it's very cool.
I'm looking at it in a new context now. It's like, rather than this relaxed kind of, I'm happy with life, now it's more, I hate the photographer.
She's got that look in her eye, actually.
She's like, hurry up, I want my dinner.
Doesn't she?
I'm knackered. I want my dinner. I want my mince and patties.
Yeah, I know.
Are you a fan of it, Paul?
I think it's a really good cover, actually. I love the colour as well. It's like my water bottle, actually. It's just really cool, but it's almost like it's maybe one of the first times she doesn't almost have to shock or be controversial or be like really sexual. But it's like, because she's just looking there, she actually probably looks even sexier because she's not trying to.
Yeah.
Because you're not, she actually looks the best she ever has,
more mysterious.
Like she's confident. Yeah. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah,
that's a really good point. It's I think it's totally on point with the sounds and the lyrical content on the album. I think it very much plays up to that rebirth, the Earth Mother, spiritual type things. The blue colouring scheme and such, like, just reflects a more mature, grown up, less provocative Madonna. So yeah, I think everything on around artwork is totally on point. First, we're going to go through the songs that definitely make the TTMF Supercut, as at least 3 of the 4 of us have selected them. So where shall we start? Shall we start with track 1 on the album, which is Drowned World / Substitute for Love?
The face of you, my substitute for love, my substitute for love. Should I wait for you, my substitute for love, my substitute for love?
Paul, rather than ladies first, I'm going to go with you first. What do you think of this song?
Yeah, it's a really good song. I'm more familiar with the singles from the album. This is also one of them, but it's really good because it's almost like a medley, almost 2 songs. But it's just quite nice and mellow, and then just a nice way to kick off the album, and just quite almost heralding a new era, almost like, you know, like starting a new sound, and then sort of getting faster as the album goes on.
It's a brave choice for an album opener, isn't it? Just 'cause it is so low key. Normally you'd start an album with something that's really in your face and it grabs your attention. So it's quite brave in that respect. Marissa, what do you think of the song?
I like it. Again, it is a slow one, but
yeah,
I still think the melodies are quite strong. Yeah, but possibly a strange choice for an opener for an album, but this album's not a kind of standard, I don't think. It does everything a wee bit differently. So yeah, I still like it, even though it's quite slow. I still like the melodies.
I think I get where she was going by putting that the first on the album. Just starts off with that wee sample. I think at the beginning it's like a sample of a film or some other song or something, and then that kind of fades out and gets to her song. So there was that kind of level of intrigue to kind of pull you in at the start to go, what's this? Because this doesn't sound like Madonna. What's this? She's got this wee sample bit. And then she starts to sing. And then when the sort of drums come in and you get into the groove of the song, you go, oh, there she is. Here she is now. And you're like, this was so different for her. And I think it really showcased her vocals on this song. I think she set out her stall at the beginning, I think, on this album to say, this is going to be different. This is how I'm going to sound on this album. So you better brace yourself for the rest of the album. I think that really set out the stall for that album. And I think it's a beautiful song. It's got gorgeous melodies. And after I heard that, God, I wonder what the rest of the album's going to be like. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm really glad you managed to get into the groove and there as
I know.
well. That was quite.
Did you mean
that?
Did not mean that.
I didn't even notice that.
Didn't even notice that. No.
Yeah,
we should have done that. How many Madonna songs can we get into this?
We'll need to try and do
by
that.
Stealth. By
Just
stealth
need to open our hearts to it, you know. And
Very good. Now you'll need a holiday after this show, won't you? Yeah, we'll move on. But yes, I agree with everything you guys have said. I think I love the relative simplicity of the song and the honesty of its lyrics. And really, I think it's reading the lyrics. It's just about Madonna, I think, seeing the error of her previous ways, craving superficial things, and now wanting some real, tangible love. And I think the part at the beginning you may be talking about, Caroline, with the sample. Is I know that poet Rod McEwen and American singer Anita Kerr are credited as co-writers on this, as the song includes a sample of one of their tunes called "Why I Follow the Tiger." So it may well be
that's exactly that.
The one.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'll give you a couple of facts in relation to the song. So yes, it was the third single from the album. It came out in August '98, though it wasn't released in the US, and it became Madonna's 7th #1 single in Spain, of all places, and according to Madonna, it is the most important track on the album. She gave an interview to Q magazine at the time where she explained, I realised, and I've been realising this for years, that the approval, the headiness of being swept up and being popular and loved by people in universal ways is absolutely no substitute for truly being loved. But if you have to have a substitute, it's about the best there is. So I don't know if you've really seen the error of our ways there. But yeah, we all picked it. We all like the song. So it gets on the Supercut. So the second song, Marissa, do you want to pick a song to discuss?
I'll go for Frozen, just because it's probably
okay,
my
let's go
favourite.
with one of the biggies. Your favourite, okay. So, Frozen, what do you like about it?
I love the depth of her voice in this one. It feels mysterious and wise and emotional, and it's got a real darkness to it as well. I just I think it draws you in. Whatever you're doing when this song comes on, it really draws you in. And I remember watching the video as well and just being, this is the one with the bird, isn't it? The black bird.
Like a raven.
Raven, flying over. And I remember just watching it and thinking, there's something just really mesmerizing about it. It's very different from our normal stuff, but it's catchy in a different way, not in your standard catchy way, but it's just the darkness and the broodiness of her voice and what she's saying. It just really draws you in. It's very, very simple. There's not much in the way of instrumentation, but it doesn't need it.
I like what you said there about that she sounds wise. Hadn't really thought of that before. Yeah, Caroline, you're a big fan of this as well, aren't you?
It's just a gorgeous piece of work. Like the string arrangement as well, just gives you absolute goosebumps. It's a very spiritual song, and I think, if you think of the chorus and that sort of ooh bit that she starts the chorus off with, that's kind of like, if you think of the theme of the album and where she was at that time in terms of finding herself, she was into yoga, she was into Kabbalah, she was into Hinduism and Buddhism, and you hear that kind of almost chant in the chorus, which it was a sort of nod to that, I think, as well. And I just thought it was a really beautifully put together song, and I don't think there's anything like it out there. It's a gorgeous song, and the video, like you say, I mean, that's what went and pulled me into the album in the first place. Sitting on the sofa with my dad, we both sat in silence just watching MTV, and it went and came on, and we didn't speak a word. We watched the whole thing, and then we just looked at each other afterwards, and I was like, wow. He was like, that was good. So definitely up there, I think, is one of the best songs out there.
Yeah, agreed. I think the video, it just made perfect sense to have it set in a desert. I'm just thinking of things like Lawrence of Arabia and so on. It just has that, and I think you're talking about mystical themes and such like, and the epicness, the grandeur. Absolutely, it just but it totally backs that up, doesn't it? Yeah. Paul. Now I remember, Paul, you bought the CD single, and so I've got fond memories of this song. Because I remember me and Paul were still living at home at the time, and I remember you'd bought the CD. I hadn't heard the song, and Paul had the CD single. I remember walking past his bedroom, and the door was shut, and I'm going, that sounds fantastic. And I went, sounds like
it's Paul singing.
Madonna's singing, but it doesn't sound like a Madonna song. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a Madonna song, really. And I'm like, oh, who is that? Oh, it's Madonna's new song. I'm like, that's fantastic. But yeah, anyway, Paul, what do you like about it?
Yeah, it's a brilliant song. Just, like the video as well. I could almost imagine it being in a musical, actually, and maybe that's because obviously Evita was done a couple of years previous to that. But it's just really atmospheric in the video with the raven. And my favourite bit in the song is when it sort of stops and you hear the orchestral bits in it, and it comes back, and that's my favourite bit. But it's almost like a music. It's a bit like a kind of late 90s Kate Bush. That's what it makes me think a wee bit.
Yeah.
The sort of theatrical side to it and everything. Like in a good way. I think it's a brilliant song, definitely. And it's a real intent, like signal of intent for her comeback for me.
Yeah, a couple of facts in relation to it. So Bernardo Bertolini's film The Shelter in Sky inspired Madonna to write it. It was the lead single from the album, and it came out in January 1998, and it reached number 2 in the US and Canada, and was a number 1 hit here in the UK. And in 2003, Madonna fans were asked to vote for their top 20 Madonna singles of all time by Q Magazine, and Frozen got the number 10 spot.
In the 2000s, they also made a film of it as well.
The
The animated film.
Let it go.
Did they?
Yeah.
Let it go, Paul.
Let it go.
You talking about actual Frozen?
Oh, you had me
Sorry.
there. I sound like an idiot now. Did they? Oh yeah. I was just so in the moment of the song.
I know. I couldn't resist it.
Sucker, that's me.
No.
I did wonder where you were going with that, Paul, to be fair. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, there we go. But yeah, brilliant song. For me, it's my favourite song on the album, and I think it's one of Madonna's greatest ever songs. Yeah, we all picked it. It gets on. Caroline, do you want to pick a song from the album to talk about?
Oh, I've got two that I could talk about, but one I'll talk about because I feel like it doesn't belong on the album, but I still like it. So Nothing Really Matters.
Nothing really matters. Love is all we need. Everything I give you all comes back to
Was I think that was the last single that was released off the album, and I think it was the least successful in terms of chart place. I think it got to 90 something, but it was played everywhere, and I remember this. It was on constantly all the time, and it was massive in clubs. It was always remixed for clubs and club nights. And for me, if you hear the drum beat and where that song goes, it belongs on the Erotica album. It doesn't belong on Rate of Light, but it's still a really good song.
Agreed. It's just actually with re-listening to the album recently, I would agree with you. It sounds more like something that, from 92, 93, 94, that kind of
What was the
New
song you went
Jack
to hear?
type
It was
sound.
It was like a slowed
It
down
was like
version.
deeper and deeper. It's like a slowed down version of deeper and deeper. It's that same kind of drum beat, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was a song that didn't actually make the cut on those albums, and then
Like
they've
a leftover.
reimagined it. Yeah.
Agreed.
So
Did
there
you
you go.
ever shake your booty to it at Century 2000, Caroline?
Plenty times. It was probably more so. I want to say Shark. Because it was 98, right? So I'd have been at my height of my student days. So Shark at the Cav on a Wednesday night.
Shark student night.
It was probably there. But it's a great song. I have to say, I bought it on CD single. It's a great song. Lots of remixes, but I think the least successful from all the singles that she put out from that album.
I think that's fair. I know I certainly probably drunkenly danced to Century 2000 back in the day, or attempted to dance to it back in the day. Marissa, where are you with this song? What do you think of it?
It's not one of my favourites. I'm not really a massive fan of that kind of, I don't know how you would describe the style.
Old school banger?
Yeah, I don't know. There's something
like the club style.
There's something about the
Club
instrumentation
style.
that I'm not a big fan of. I can't quite put my finger on it, but
I think it's a 90s kind of clubhouse thing.
Mhm.
I think you're not into
Mhm,
that too
mhm.
much. Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
made
I would
your
take it.
cut, but it's not your favourite. Paul, sorry, you agree with Marissa?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, it just feels a bit. It's a good song, but it's just a bit, and it's good for what it does. I suppose when you think about clubbing in the 90s, but it just feels a bit flat for me. Just like there's no substance to it. It's just quite flat, but it's good for what it does, of course. But
It's
not one of my
commercial, it's
favourites.
commercial.
Yeah.
I actually liked it more when it became a single. When it was on the album, I kind of tended to. I never skipped it, but I was like, yeah, it's all right. But then I think you took more notice of it when it became a single, and I had that weird video. Remember that one with where she dressed as a geisha in red? And had like kind of weird. I'm not going to replicate the
and
dance.
the weird head movements and stuff.
Yeah, I know. It was
Yeah.
like a horror movie type thing, just like I can't do. Yeah, just like that. Yeah. but was released, as you said, as the fifth and final single from the album in March 1999, and it remains Madonna's lowest entry on the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 93. Although it was more successful elsewhere, reaching number 1 in Hungary and Spain, and entering the top 10 in countries including Canada, Finland, Iceland, Italy, New Zealand, and here in the UK. And in Interview magazine in 1998, Madonna said the song was inspired by her relationship with her daughter Lourdes, who was then just 2 years old, and she explained, "She doesn't know about me being famous. She hasn't got a clue, and it's completely unconditional love, which I've never known because I grew up without a mother. I mean, I did have a father, but I think that the love you get from your mother is quite different." So there you go. So that we all picked that one. So let's move on to our fourth track. Paul, do you want to pick one?
I'll go with Ray of Light, actually.
Oh, we're going with the title track. Okay, so you've always liked that one. So yeah, tell us why.
It's just really, it's almost like the precursor to, what you call it? Beautiful Stranger from like the Austin Powers film. Because that's like, for me, that's one of our best songs.
Yeah,
and they were quite close. Yeah, they were quite close in the time when they were recorded, or when they were released anyway. And so it's just kind of, but it's a good example of using technology, but it works well. It's like it's current, but it's mixed with Madonna's, like, her talents. So it kind of mixed well. It's aged well. And it's just like she's just I like the video as well. It's almost like she's just, maybe the first time she's not taking herself too seriously, because sometimes it feels like she does take herself too seriously. Whereas in the video, she's just like sort of dancing around like she's at a karaoke bar or something. It's just a really good song. And when I think of that, the album, and that, obviously it's a title track, but you can't think of the album without thinking of that song. And the way she looks and the cover of the album as well. So it was a ray of light for me at the time.
Oh, well, I'm so pleased. Marissa, you like this one as well, don't you?
Yeah, I love that one. It just it feels free as a song. Whenever I listen to it, I feel free, and I don't know if that's just association with where I was in my life and my my childhood. I just remember my brother, whose age is with Caroline, just playing it on repeat, playing it. We used to play it before he went out clubbing, and yeah, it just evokes nice memories for me, and nice. I just feel free when I hear it. I think of nice times.
Yeah, same for you, Caroline.
Do you know what? No, I'm going to be completely. Yeah, I am probably going to speak against popular opinion on this, but just to touch on one of the points that Paul said, that he feels this one's kind of more timeless, and it's got that really good kind of vibe to it. And I think in large that's possibly down to there's quite a lot of real sounding instrumentation with the guitar at the beginning, and that kind of flows throughout the track. And I feel that if you have got any live instruments on your track, that will certainly help to not date the song.
Definitely.
But I think for me, controversially, it would be the single I'd always skip past, because I like darker songs. I like the ballads. I like Frozen and The Power of Goodbye, which we'll probably get to later on. And Substitute for Love were my top three. I like a wee angst-ridden, dark tune. that's got a beautiful epic chorus, and a lovely bridge that takes you there. So for me, Real Light was just a bit too obvious for me. Yeah, it was upbeat. It was a kind of people pleaser, upbeat and happy. And I think it's a great song. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't speak to me as much as the darker ones did.
Okay. Yeah, for me, yeah, it's a great song. I think it's my favourite song on the album after Frozen, and I'm kind of with Marissa and Paul on this one. I think it's just full of energy, and I think you can just put this on and immediately feel energised and uplifted. And I think vocally for Madonna, in parts, it's quite daring. I think especially towards the end, I think it's 4 minutes 24, where she repeats "And I Feel." She does this growly version of it. I'm not going to try and repeat it because when I do, I sound like I'm something from the Exorcist movie. He does it sounds great. You know, when I do it,
It's a Yoko
Slightly
Ono
creepy.
period.
yeah, I know. And so I think that's great. You don't really hear her doing that. And the final one, and I feel where she just kind of screams off into the distance like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great. It was just kind of letting loose a little bit, which I don't think she's really done anything like that before, which I really like. But it was a hugely successful track for her, reaching #1 in Greece, Spain, and actually here in Scotland. It was nominated for 3 Grammy Awards, winning 2 for Best Dance Recording and Best Short Form Music Video. And the Una Caroline music video for the song won 5 awards at the 1998 MTV Music Awards. And the biggest thing, I only ever found this out in the last couple of years, that the song is based on a 60s English folk duo's song. I think the duo are called Curtis Muldoon and their song Sephirin. So they actually do have a writing credit on this. And when you do listen to the song, check it out. It's like, my God, it's Ray of Light. From the word go, like boom, the verse. It's crazy. So I don't know how they came across that tune. But yeah, that was a big part in its construction. So, Caroline, you mentioned The Power of Goodbye. So
Yes.
I think we'll go with that one.
There's nothing left to try. There's no place left to hide. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye.
So you are obviously a big fan of this. We all picked it. Tell us what you love about The Power of Goodbye.
It's just a beautiful pop ballad. Sums up the kind of Madonna power ballads over the years. I just think the instrumentation was quite subtle on this album. To suit the song as opposed to William Orbit being William Orbit. I think he did kind of what he needed to on this single, and I just think it's beautiful. It's quite a searching song. It's quite spiritual, haunting. It was my favourite after Frozen, I think, and it's just got the chorus that gives you goosebumps, and then the middle 8 where it breaks down, and then you've got the strings coming in again. It's just absolutely stunning arrangements, and I just love music like that. And I suppose that song's maybe shaped a lot of my songwriting going forward as well. I don't know whether you see any flavours of my songwriting, but
definitely there's been so many songs that you've written that could like I hear it and I think, wow, that could easily have been a Madonna song. The melodies and the kind of the structure and the form to your songs, definitely. Yeah, there's definitely been a massive influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on I think the strings that kick in after the second chorus, when the strings take over.
Yeah.
Fabulous. I did tease who did the strings. Don't know if anybody knows, but it was Scottish film composer Craig Armstrong.
Oh wow, excellent.
There we go. So a good old Scot was doing this sweeping strings, which is great. But they are fantastic on this song. Marissa, you like the song as well, don't you?
Yeah, again, I think the way I did my cut on the album was I kind of I just took my least favorite ones which were easy enough to cut off. But this is this is definitely it's one of the best songs on the album, I think. Just another great ballad from her.
Yeah.
Again, nice tone, nice depth to her voice. And yeah, a completely different vocal to any of our our 80s and 90s stuff. I guess like anybody, your voice actually does lower as you get older. So when you listen to some of our early stuff, you just wouldn't really recognize
her
as a vocalist. And I think it's nice. I think you get some really nice warm tones in these ballads coming through.
Yeah, agreed. Paul, you liked this a lot as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it's quite similar to Frozen, but to me it sounds a bit like I can imagine hearing that in a church. Just the sound, it's like a hymn almost. But it's got that real atmospheric, almost like could be in a musical as well, and quite emotional as well. And it's almost like I can imagine her maybe singing that in the 80s, but like at a faster tempo, and it'd be more poppy. But this one's a bit more somber, a bit more meaningful, maybe. But it's really good song. Love the orchestration as well.
Yeah, it's maybe for me the most traditional sounding Madonna song on the album, and I think it just showcases how good a writer she is of finely crafted pop tunes, and I think the acoustic guitar on it maybe points the way to where she would go with the next album, Music, where there was a lot of acoustic guitar on that. So I think it's maybe a good indicator of where she was going. But yeah, the strings in it are absolutely wonderful. Love it. But yeah, this was written with US songwriter Rick Knowles. It was released as the fourth single from the album in September 98. In the UK, which I actually don't remember, it was released as a double A side with Little Star, which I had completely forgotten. And it did reach the top 10 in over 9 countries, including Austria, Germany, Hungary, Iceland, Spain, and the UK. While in the US, it reached number 11, becoming Madonna's 37th top 20 hit, which is just
37th. I mean,
isn't
37.
that mental? 37th top 20 hit.
I think you said so. She co-wrote that one with a chap called Rick Knowles. You said there. I think didn't he write a lot for Belinda Carlisle on the Heaven Is a Place on Earth album? And didn't he write Leave a Light On and things like that? I'm sure he did. So there you go.
Yeah, he's. I was looking him up today because he is one of those guys where I'm sure I've seen a writing credit on this and on that and on this, and the guy has, as a writer, sold millions, multi-millions. So yeah, he's some writer. But yeah, great tune. So let's go with another unanimous choice, which is the second song on the album called Swim.
We can't carry these sins on our back. Don't wanna carry anymore. We're gonna carry this train off the track. We're gonna swim to the ocean floor. Crash to the other shore.
This is the one with the kind of what sound like dolphin or whale noise on it. So yeah, second track on the album. Maybe I'll come to you first for your thoughts, Caroline.
I think what was nice about that one was the kind of grungy guitars. She had like the grungy, crunchy guitars at the start, and it was just a bit darker than your normal Madonna song. It was more indie. There was an indie vibe to it. And whilst it's not a single per se, it was an earworm. like the song would just keep
Mhm.
going round and round and round in your head. So again, different, a bit darker than your normal Madonna song. I like the guitars. I liked it was a little bit different with that. And an interesting title as well. Swim is it's all lovely titles on it, like, you know, all the singles like Frozen and The Power of Goodbye, Swim, they're all quite spiritual
water-based,
sounding and
yeah.
water-based
Yeah.
and things, and
Around
just
the world.
lovely. So yeah. I think that's definitely one of the more indie fusion ones that was on the album.
Yeah, agreed. Paul?
Yeah, quite similar. It's almost like when I was saying the first song, Drowned World in Substitute for Love, it's quite mellow and slow, and it feels like it's almost like she's hiding behind the curtains, and then this song comes on and she comes out from behind the curtain, almost like at a concert.
Ta-da!
I know. You know, so I sort of think of it like that, but yeah, but quite good because it's different and it's more up tempo as well, and so yeah, good song.
Okay. Marissa?
Yeah, I don't have a great deal to add to that. Just that, yeah, it's quite upbeat and, you know, some nice catchy wee melodies going on there, which I love in a song. But yeah, nothing more to add.
Okay, it's so at the beginning of the song, it's actual real wave sounds at the beginning of it. And yeah, I mean, I like this, I like the guitar at the beginning, as you say, Caroline. I like the whole vibe of it. You know, swim to the ocean floor, and you're kind of hearing, if you like, what she's hearing as she's swimming down to the ocean floor. So things like whale sound and so on. And I think in that chorus, it's a bit more of that chanting type thing that is used in the chorus of Frozen. So which is great, but yeah, and I think it really is just speaking about past negativity and try to move on in our life to more positive, better, and bigger things. So yeah, good tune.
This is Eric Paul Johnson from Face the Music, an Electric Light Orchestra song-by-song podcast. And you're listening to Trimming the Musical Fat. Oh dear. That wasn't my fat I trimmed.
Madonna's top 10 selling physical singles are: at number 10, Frozen with 2.35 million copies sold. At number 9 is Music with 2.4 million copies. At number 8 is Who's That Girl with 2.5 million copies. At number 7 is Crazy For You with 2.7 million copies. At number 6 is Vogue with 2.8 million copies. At number 5 is Like a Prayer with 2.9 million copies sold. At number 4 is Into the Groove with 3 million copies. Number 3 is La Isla Bonita with 3.2 million copies. Number 2 is Papa Don't Preach with 3.3 million copies sold. And the number 1 selling single for Madonna worldwide is Like a Virgin with 4.4 million copies sold in physical sales.
Next one, I'm maybe going to go with one which gets on to our Supercut, but not everybody picked it. So I'm going to pick Little Star.
My song, you make my spirit whole. Never forget who you are, little star, shining brighter than all the stars in the sky. Never forget how to dream, butterfly. Never forget where you come from love.
And one person didn't pick it. Caroline. So why did this make this up for you?
I don't know, like, the song's got quite a lot of drum and bass elements to it. It's really catchy, right? It's really, really catchy. And ever since I listened to the album last night, it's been the one song that stayed in my head. But it's just, it doesn't make me feel anything. A song has got to make me feel something, like going back to Swim there and why I kept that in, because because you could almost kind of be sitting listening to that song with your eyes closed, your headphones on, and you could be in the ocean swimming. It takes you there. Whereas Little Star, I just think, it was a song for a wee girl, wasn't it? And it was, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. I mean, it's so infectious and catchy. I'm not a major fan of drum and bass. I think that maybe put me off a little bit, but nah.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan either. It only just made the cut
Right.
for me. Yeah,
Poor
no, I
Little
just
Star.
feel like it just doesn't really. I don't know. It just feels a bit. I don't know. It just yeah, like Caroline, it doesn't stir any particular emotion. It kind of leaves me a bit cold. A bit. I don't know. It just doesn't really go anywhere for me.
I think it's the production. It's quite light production, isn't it? There's no
Yeah.
real hook to grab onto on that song, apart from the chorus. But normally you have like a guitar hook, or you have a beautiful string arrangement or something. I just didn't think this song kind of carried as well as the rest of them.
Yeah, nothing to latch on to. Okay, Paul, are you going to save Little Star? Make it a big star?
I'm trying. There's what, because I'm not as familiar with the non-single album tracks. That I don't know if this is a song. There was one that reminded me of a song on Like a Prayer called "Till Death Do Us Part." I don't know if I'm getting it mixed up, but there's one song that reminded me of that. But this was like a sort of like different, almost 10 years on, using different technology. But I might have the wrong song, to be honest. But it was one of the songs that I chose, and I chose this one.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go up against Eve's here. I think this is one of the best songs on the album for me.
Wow.
I mean, what do you like chart hit radio song played ladies know about music like?
Well, certainly not as much, as Madonna does. I mean, come on.
So, yeah, no, I actually really like this song, and I think a lot of that just comes from the lyrics, and yes, it is very much directed at her daughter there, and I just think that's quite sweet. So, and it actually has my favorite part or favorite bit that happens on the album, which is it goes very James Bond theme like at 2 minutes 45. where it goes after the second chorus and the strings kick in. It shows, may angels protect you and sadness forget you, little star. So it suddenly goes James Bondy for 15, 20 seconds there. And that's probably why it gets in my cut.
May the angels protect you and sadness forget you, little star. There's no reason to weep, lay your head down to sleep, little star. May goodness surround you, my love, I have found you, little star, shining bright.
So it makes it. It makes it by the skin of its teeth.
Madonna's top 10 selling albums are: at number 10, I'm Breathless, with 6.7 million copies sold. At number 9 is Bedtime Stories, with 6.8 million copies. At number 8 is Erotica, with 7.5 million copies. At number 7 is Confessions on the Dance Floor, with 9.3 million copies. At number 6 is Madonna's debut album with 9.6 million copies. At number 5 is Music with 10.7 million copies. At number 4 is Like a Prayer with 14.2 million copies. At number 3 is Ray of Light with 16 million copies. Number 2 is Like a Virgin with 21.2 million copies. And Madonna's best-selling album is True Blue with 22.5 million copies at number 1.
Hey everyone out there in the podcasting world, this is Widescreen Podcast. This is Sam Wiles. You are listening to another episode of the Trimming the Musical Fat podcast.
Let's go with another one which wasn't unanimous, and we'll maybe go with Candy Perfume Girl.
Young velvet porcelain boy, devour me when you're with me. Bluish window seas, speak delicious fires. I'm your candy perfume girl. Your candy perfume girl.
Paul, you did not pick Candy Perfume Girl. What do you not like about the girl?
Let me have a look. Candy perfume.
Do you remember
I think
the
it was
Candy
just
Perfume
yeah.
Girl?
So that's the fourth one. I thought the perfume girl was just it was just a bit boring, just a bit monotonous. Just yeah,
Is that your mic drop moment?
yeah. Our perfume didn't smell nice.
Well, okay, fair enough. Caroline, are you going to explain to him why he's maybe incorrect?
Well, to be honest, if I had to cut another one off, it would be that one as well. But
See, I'm
again, it
right,
was
see.
again, it's one of those ones where it's still infectious though. You still remember it, you still sing along to it. Again, it's got that kind of indie sort of grungy guitar at the beginning, and you think, oh yeah, she's a wee bit different again. She's got the guitars out
Yes.
again, and it's just a bit. It's very lo-fi. It's very low key, and I just think it's really catchy and really hooky. Again, though, it isn't my favourite, and it probably came close to being chopped, but it made the stay. So
Okay.
there
Yeah,
you go.
not my favourite either.
The fragrance stayed with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my favourite either, but I think it made it through on the strength of the melody and the earworm factor for me.
Yeah, I'm the same, the same as you guys. Yep. Yeah, I just really like the guitar. That soul electric guitar on it, which I think is really good, and I think great drums as well. And actually, some of the lyrics on it are really good. I think the first verse I wrote down here is that young velvet porcelain boy, devour me when you're with me. Blue wish, window seas, speak delicious fires. Make from that what you will. But it sounds nice.
Do you know, I give myself a hard time over my
I know.
lyrics, but I shouldn't really
I
worry,
know,
should I?
yeah.
That could be one of those songs.
don't
Remember when
worry.
you used to get a like an old sweetie tin or something like that, and you'd cut up individual words, and then you just make a
Yes,
song
yeah.
out of individual.
them
That just
together.
sounds like one of those to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
She's just gone for
Yeah.
it.
Devour me when you're blue wish, window seas, speak delicious fires.
It's like somebody getting a chainmail letter or something
Yeah.
arriving through the
Yeah,
post.
yeah.
You'd be like, you sent me this.
Yeah.
What does it
What's
mean?
that about?
Very cryptic.
It's like people might not remember it, but 3, 2, 1 Dusty Bin. It's like trying to decipher one of the riddles.
Oh,
You know, it's like that.
they were shocking. Yeah, it's like what?
Yeah.
Catchphrase.
It's catchphrase. Yeah, there is a really good
Hey,
bit
what
in
you
this
see?
song, about 2 minutes 40, where it has the very short instrumental break and it has a Beatlesque type keyboard type thing on it, which is a very fleeting, which is really quite nice. Before everything kicks back in, the guitar's very much high in the mix, which is really good. There's one more song which made it onto our Supercut, and that song is another album track. It was track 7 on the album, which is Sky Fits Heavens.
Traveling down this road, watching the signs as I go. I think I'll follow the sun. Isn't everyone
So, I think the only person not to pick this one was Marissa. Sky Fits Heaven.
Yeah, I mean it was energetic, but it just it didn't hook me in as much
No.
as the other ones that made the cut. I think I always go on a melody for a song, and the melody didn't really grab me for that one.
Okay. So it was boom, thrown in the bin. Caroline, you a bit more of a fan of it.
I would disagree. I think the chorus melody is absolutely smashing. What I think
Right.
let that song down was the actual production. There was too
Right.
much
Too much.
going on
That's-
at any one
yeah.
time. There was the drums. There was it was just
It was an assault
too much
on the ears.
over production on that song. And I think if you strip it back, like, see if she had to do an unplugged album, I'd love to see Madonna do like a big unplugged series. I think that song would be really good. It's got a lovely chorus. It'd be lovely just to strip that back acoustically. It
Sorry,
just gets lost.
Sorry, I'm thinking of erotica on the acoustic guitar. Erotic butcher. Sorry, just you're saying strip them back and just imagine her singing, or justify my love, wanting, needing, all you to justify on the acoustic guitar.
You know what though? I reckon it would work because, like,
yeah.
seriously, watching the unplugged sessions, right? You've got orchestras now, so you've got like string
Yeah.
orchestras. You've got the acoustic bass, acoustic guitars. If you watch Aha Unplugged,
Yeah,
and
that
they
was
did
brilliant.
a song with Lissy as well, like that sort of feel. I'd love to see Madonna do that at some
Yeah.
point in her career,
Yeah.
and I can't understand
Yeah.
why she's not done that yet.
I'll tell you why.
Oh,
Steady on.
is there a
I'll say no
controversial
more.
comment
Be
coming up?
gracious.
I'll say no more.
Be gracious. But I think Sky Fits Heaven is a good song, but I think the production ruins it.
Okay, there is a lot going on. I think that's fair to say. And there is a good drive to the song. I like the chorus the best. You know, traveling down this road, watching the signs as I go, which is good. There was a remix of the track by Sasha and Victor Calderon, which was released as a promo single in October 1998, which I didn't know of there. And the song was a co-write with longtime collaborator Patrick Leonard. And something that I found out today, which was quite interesting, that elements of the lyric are taken from a poem by called "What Fits" by poet Max Blagg, and that poem was first used in a Gap advert in 1992, which Madonna liked, and she actually paid Blagg to use some of the poem in the song, but to not get a writing credit for it.
Oh,
that's a bit
It's weird.
controversial.
I know, so he got paid, but he didn't get a writing credit. It is weird, isn't it?
Depends how much you paid him, though.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I know. I'll give you $2 million, but you don't
Because
get your
that
name
would take
on
a
it.
couple of $1 million. I would take that any day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Madonna came knocking on your door, asking you something like that, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. Give me a tenner, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll take your money. And by the way, why are you not doing an unplugged?
Yeah, totally.
Is that to do with auto-tune
auto
or something? Or?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear Marissa's controversial comments on why Madonna will not do unplugged.
I think maybe something she would have done earlier in her career, but I think more recently, I don't think her vocals are strong enough. Because I think if you do an unplugged, it's all about the vocals and the strength of them, and I don't think it would stand up. From what I've heard, I mean, I haven't heard her do anything like that recently, but from what I've heard, just in performances that she's done, I've not been too impressed with the vocals, and I don't know if that's just because they do decline with age. That is a thing.
But you got to remember when she's doing her vocals, she's dancing. She's got folk dancing around her. She's getting lifted in the air.
Absolutely.
She's getting hoisted by her cape. Like,
I get
there's all these
Falling back
things
down all the
happening. If
stairs.
she was like sitting and trained up for it, and have backing singers with
Yeah.
our strings. I think,
I
think
don't
it would
know.
be
I do take your
interesting.
point. Like I couldn't dance and sing at the same time, but I have to say, even before she started dancing, sometimes like the first 20 seconds of a song or something, you're thinking, "Ooh, not great." But I will give her the benefit of the doubt, because sometimes when you're on stage at these big productions, you can't actually
can't
hear
hear a
yourself.
thing. You can't
Something
hear a
goes
thing.
wrong. Maybe something went wrong with her inner ears or something like that. But yeah. I mean, I think she's kind of gone like up and down vocally in her career. I don't think she's ever been known as being the strongest vocalist in the world. But then when you do listen to, Frozen and songs like that, our voice does sound, like it's got a lot of depth.
Yeah.
I think maybe her pitching live's never been her strong point, and I think that would let her down in a live and unplugged
I
scenario.
just have to defend her to say that the amount of production that she's got to deal with, the vocals are probably the last thing on her mind. She's probably trying to listen to all the music that's going on in her ear monitors. She's got so many songs. She's probably trying to remember all the words. She's got dancers all around her. She's in stadiums. She's in stadiums with people. It's so hard to hear anything. I mean, you know what we're like doing outdoor festivals. It's awful.
horrendous.
The sound is awful at outdoor festivals. You can hardly hear yourself. I think if she had an opportunity to do an unplugged and to really put in the work to do that, I think it would be a really beautiful set. She's got so many amazing songs.
Mm-hmm.
She could choose any 15 to 20 songs off her entire back catalogue, pick the right ones and go for it. I think it would just be a nice way for her legacy, because it's just pop, 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 pop. I want to hear the songs, like the root of some of those songs that are so hidden under all the production.
Yeah.
I think actually there's a cracking song there.
Why do you think she's never done something like that? Because generally artists, if they're that famous and they've got so much of a following, they will take and they will be asked to do these opportunities to do broken down things, and she's never really done that. Maybe she
I'm
just
saying that
feels
she's not done it, but has she not done it?
I don't-
'Cause I've not
I
even
don't
researched
know.
to see if she's done it. No, she's not done it, has she?
No, I think she's done things which are similar, and I know she did something called a clown thing, where she did maybe more obscure songs, but I don't think she's ever done a strictly acoustic type set in that kind of setting, which is a shame, because I think it would have been good to have done about the Ray of Light time.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a good time to do it, and she does have the songs to do it. So you wonder, is it a fear thing? Because she will have been asked. There's no doubt about it. She will have been asked.
And she
to
might
do
just
it,
not
so-
feel like that's her thing, that's her
Maybe.
strong point. Maybe she feels like, being on stage and the dancing and the whole full production and the dancers and everything like that, that's her thing. And
Maybe.
that's a massive skill in itself. Like I could never get on stage and dance and sing and put on a show
Well, I
like she
could.
does. So
No problem. I'm quite good at
we'd
doing
like to see
backflips
that.
and stuff.
But Lady
Maybe not.
Gaga's never done an unplugged, and she's an incredible vocalist.
Oh yeah.
And your Belinda Carlisle's never done an MTV unplugged.
No.
There's so many pop acts, like your Dua Lipas and all that. I don't know, maybe it suits a certain type of artist, but I just think that Madonna would have been, should have been good. If she'd been game to do something like that, I think it would have been quite an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, and the example you gave about it has a really good example, because it's almost like their songs, a lot of them, there was a lot of production in them and synthesizer, but actually it's really controversial, but their version of Take On Me, I think, is actually better. The unplugged one, it's just like really
gorgeous.
stripped back. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And it's better than the original, which is really almost impossible, but it is. So
Yeah.
I think Madonna could have done that, and even songs like Borderline and Live to Tell. Can you imagine them acoustically, or an orchestra, or This Used to Be My Playground, Take a Bow. You could be great.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Madge, Liza Labadita,
Yeah, no, that's a shame. Although I'm now looking forward to the Paul Nicholson Unplugged gig.
I think we all are.
Justify my love.
I want to see some dancing as well. Justify my love unplugged.
Open your heart to me.
You should see this air
I'm doing the
guitar playing,
acoustic
by the way.
version.
It's brilliant.
Did
Love
you see
it.
the video for Open Your Heart? You would never get away with that now. It's like she's basically the wee boy goes in, and she's basically like a stripper. I think he puts money in or something. He goes in and she's dancing for him and everything. Do you remember the video? Yeah, it's just like yeah,
You would
wouldn't,
not get away with that now. Yeah.
No.
The dirty 80s. That's what it was.
The
Yeah.
filthy video nasties of the
Filthy.
80s. Yeah, no.
There were no
Filthy.
There were no rules
Oh,
back then.
filthy.
I know.
Before the snowflake era.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for our final rule tonight, it's time for another edition of one of our favorite departments here on Real Time, explaining jokes to idiots.
Go into the joke of the pod. So, do we all have some very funny Madonna jokes to share?
I don't
So
have a
ladies
joke. I'm really
first.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Caroline, have you got one?
So here's the thing, right? So I was researching last night, and that was an awful Google search. Some of the jokes that were coming up
Yeah.
were horrendous.
They were.
So misogynistic, so
Yes.
derogatory. And I thought, this is awful. But I did
Mhm.
find one joke.
Okay.
It's really not that funny. Did you hear about the big fight that Madonna, Cher, and
Yeah.
Adele had?
No.
They're no longer on a first name basis. Ba-dum.
Kaboom. I've got a drum kit behind me. I should go to it.
Oh, seriously, it was the only safe one that I could actually say on
Wow.
mic.
It's an interesting point you make. 'Cause I did the same. I went online to look for it, and I couldn't believe how almost all of them were sexualized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them. And even as speaking as a guy, I was kind of like, "Ooh, that's a bit off."
I mean, it would be pretty remarkable if you didn't see anything like that. If you given, like, think about some of the albums that she's put out, the sex book, In Bed with Madonna. It is all very sexualized, and it still kind of continues to be, but there's a line between expressing your femininity and your freedom in your body. To some of those jokes that I saw online, it was a bit like, nah, hold on a bit. This is not
Mhm.
right. Awful.
Agreed.
You know what Google's like? It's just a cesspit of
Cesspit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I was really quite taken aback by it. Paul, do you have a good joke for us?
But like you were saying there, I was like, I can't repeat them. Looking for them, it's like. But there is what it's kind of like Schwarzenegger. I can't speak. Schwarzenegger has it. Long. Brad Pitt short. Madonna does not have it, and the Pope does not use it. What is it? A surname. It's kind of like a quiz. Yeah.
Ah,
I see.
good for a pub quiz, that one.
That is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was good for a
Yeah.
pub quiz. I like that.
That was one of the ones that I could say that was appropriate.
And it's not really even a joke.
No.
Struggling
That
with
is my
guys.
idea of a joke. That is my
Stephen,
idea
did
of
you
a joke.
find one?
Yours better be good.
Well, I have one, yes. And here it is. I hate all 1970s female solo artists. What a bunch of prima donnas.
Oh,
Very good. Very good.
well done. That was the best
Give you
one.
that.
That was
That was a good
the
one.
best
the
one.
only one on Google. That
What
could
would
be
we have
said.
done if we didn't have Google?
Oh, we'd struggle, wouldn't we? We would
would.
absolutely struggle. So
would.
yeah, there we are. That was about the only one that was safe to use. Okay, well, we've got the 9 songs that are making it onto the TTMF Supercut. So 4 songs didn't make it, and those 4 songs are Skin, they are Skin, Shanty slash Ashtangi, which is always easy to say, To Have and Not to Hold, and Mer Girl. So we'll maybe see if anybody wants to talk about any of them. So I think Mer Girl, Paul, you were the only one to pick that, so it's the final track on the album.
I ran to the forest, I ran to the trees, I ran and I ran, I was looking for me.
What do you like about it?
Because it's grim. There's sometimes they're the best songs, the grim ones. And I think when I was like putting the album together, like my cut of it, I had it at 46 minutes. I could have had, because I almost felt like you could have had 50 minutes. Obviously, we were allowed, but almost felt like less is more. And that, yes, that was just a good way to end the album, having that song on it.
Okay. It's, yeah, no, I mean, it is very un-Madonna-like. And actually, I think you were saying, Caroline, that it was Little Star that got in your head. It was actually, for me, Mer Girl, of all songs. And it was unlucky not to get on my car. I just think it is different, and it is telling that kind of story. And I believe from researching it, I think in 2016, Madonna explained that the inspiration behind the song, that she was once visiting her dad's house and decided to visit the place where her mum was buried, and the graveside and everything was overgrown with weed, and it's all to do with that. So I think it's a very interesting song. So Marissa, Caroline, either you guys consider it, or was it too grim, too out there?
Just, yeah, there was nothing to grab onto for me. It was just too alternative. Not for me.
It's obviously quite an intimate song for her, because she's obviously singing about her mum, and like, you know, I think it was the right song to end the album with in terms of all the songs that are on it, but it was just kind of one of those ones where it went on and on a bit, and you know, it's almost like the songs that could be used in like a horror movie when like they've got the nursery rhyme that turns a wee bit sinister. It's a bit like
1, 2, Freddy's
like the jewelry boxes that start, you know, like, you know, just got the wee sweet sound in the dancing, and it like slows down, and then the next thing Freddy's jumping out at the wall after you. But like, it's quite haunting. But then again, we're all talking about it, and we're all explaining how the song made us feel, and it's certainly meant to evoke something, I think, in all of us. So she's done her job well. You have to give her that. It's just, it didn't really, you know, it's not a song that I would choose to listen to over and over again.
Yeah. Okay. Another song which didn't go on, and actually Marissa and Caroline picked it. Me and Paul didn't. So, ladies, why don't you tell us why Skin should be on this, and that we're idiots?
Do I know you from somewhere? Why do you leave me wanting more? Why do all the things I say sound like the stupid things I've said before?
It sounds like she's in the middle of Mumbai.
I need to make a connection.
Yeah. Yeah. It stressed me out. It stressed me out. I felt stressed after listening to that.
It's a wee bit like
Too much going on.
that Simply Red song that
Fairground.
The fairground.
The drum beat, the kind of drum beats, like they kind of oppose the rhythms. It just freaks her out.
For me, it takes me into the middle of the slums in Mumbai, where like thousands of people barging past you, like you're getting claustrophobic in crowds. And again, the song has managed to actually bring out a reaction in me.
Yeah.
But I found it really hard for my senses to process it. I just got quite stressed out.
Same. I didn't want to listen to more of it. When I got to a minute, I was like, no, that's enough. That's
Please
plenty.
make it stop.
That's plenty.
It goes on for over 6 minutes, and the thing is, I actually do like the song, but it should have been 3 or 4 minutes. it does go on for too long. So yeah, that's so. Anyway, it didn't go on. Another was To Have and Not to Hold.
To have and not to hold, so hard yet so cold. My heart is in your hand, and yet you never stand close enough for me to have my way.
Which I think I was the only one that picked that, and I think I liked it, namely for the. I think it's a nice breezy tune, but I really just like it for the ba 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 ba. That's all. I like ba ba bas, and it's got ba ba bas. So
For me, it was another one of those songs that sounded like it didn't belong on the album. It was kind of like
Right.
like if you think of La Isla Bonita, but like a B-rate version of it. It's got that bum 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 bum
Yeah.
bum. It's got that kind of salsa type.
Yep.
It was I just thought it was a bit compared to the rest of the songs on the album. It was a bit sickly sweet and a bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't really do it. Didn't do it for me. Just
No.
felt
Yeah.
it just felt like a bit of a filler.
Okay. So it didn't get on, and one we all agreed that shouldn't get on. Shanti Ashtangi.
Vande Gurunam Charanaravinda Sandarshita Swatma Sukhava Bote Nishreyase Jangalikaya Mane Samsara Hala Hala Moha Shantiye.
None of us went for that one. Why not?
Just shouldn't really be on a pop music album. I don't think. It doesn't really fit.
I don't think you should say shouldn't ever, because I think it's up to artists to do whatever
Yeah.
they want. They're expressing themselves, but
No pun
it
intended.
could simply be cultural. It could simply be cultural that we don't get it, that it doesn't appeal to us because she had to sing in a different language and actually learn that language. And apparently someone at the BBC had heard an early version of it and had actually went and corrected her to say, actually, some of the words that you're singing are not really kind of done properly. You've not actually went and pronounced them properly. So she had to go back and train and learn how to do it and sing it properly. And I just think for me, I didn't get it because it isn't my culture. It's not what I've known. It's not what I've been used to. And it could mean so many things to other people that really like that culture or feel like they belong in that culture. But for me, it didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I guess for me, a song works when you're listening to it. It either makes you feel something, evokes an emotion, or it's pleasing because there's a melody you can hang on to, or you love the lyrics or anything. And for me, the lyrics didn't speak to me because I didn't understand it. The vibe of it didn't really sit well with me. It just felt a bit, I don't know, it felt almost uncomfortable to listen to. But that's just like what Caroline says, it may just be a cultural thing where you're not used to that sort of thing. But yeah, it didn't really do much for me.
I do like the instrumentation on it, and it's only 4.5 minutes long, but for me, it just seemed to outstay its welcome. And I actually think it would have been a really nice 90-second, 2-minute interlude, curio separating the first and second halves of the album.
Agree.
I think that would have been a nice little.
It might have
break.
worked in that context, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
As like
So,
a breaker to.
Yes, I think that would have been quite an interesting curio. Paul, you didn't pick it. Yeah, it's not your
exactly
thing
the
at
same
all.
as what you guys said. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Like trimming the musical fat? Then check out Trimming the Movie Fat and our latest upcoming episode dedicated to the 1980s Roger Moore James Bond movies.
Let's reveal the supercut of Ray of Light. So, the 9 songs that are making it are Drowned World, Substitute for Love, we've got Swim, Ray of Light, Candy Perfume Girl, Nothing Else Matters, Sky Fits Heaven, Frozen, The Power of Goodbye, Little Star, and I think that's the 9, isn't it? Yep. Don't think I missed any there. So the runtime of our Supercut is, if our memory serves correctly, is 46 minutes. So we've made it with our, we've just made it under the 50-minute mark there. So I'm going to go around everybody again so bearing in mind those 9 songs were selected, what would you rate that version of the album out of 5? So Paul, I'm going to come to you first.
Probably the same, actually. 3. No change.
3. Okay, Marissa.
I think that pushes up to a 4 out of 5 for me.
Yes, our work tonight has not been wasted. Brilliant. And Caroline.
I would still leave it as a 4.5 out of 5, which I think is pretty good.
Okay.
4.8. Make it 4.8.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you there. I'm going 4.8. I can't maybe just give it that 5, but it's certainly
Exactly.
It's
It's
been
close
pushed.
enough.
It's been pushed up there, yeah. So if you want to listen to the TTMF Supercut of Ray of Light, you can do so. So head over to Spotify and you can get the link for that via our Facebook group. And we'll also share the playlist of both our guests and Paul and I as well. It's the final questions. First question. When should Madonna have retired? So we're talking about if she wanted to retain her mystique, not go out on top, be in all singing, all dancing legend. When would the best time to have done that? Caroline, I'm going to you first.
So you have to be careful how you answer it because you don't want to upset anyone, because who are we to be making statements about when someone should be retiring, right? It's all subjective, it's art, it's all down to creativity. She could come out with the best album ever in the next 5 or 10 years, you don't know. But based on all that she's done to date, I think the bookmark for me has to kind of sit at the Confessions on a Dance Floor album and then just stay there. And I have to confess, I haven't listened to a lot of her albums since then. I've listened to wee bits, but the singles that she's put out, there's been none that's went and blown me away.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. But like Caroline says, I wouldn't write her off.
No,
yet.
Absolutely not.
Like inspiration can come at any point, and there might be something that happens to her when she's in her 70s, or who knows, she might meet somebody that blows her mind, or she might get into some sort of hobby that she never had before, which opens up a whole range of lyrics and things like that.
She could turn into Joni Mitchell. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't.
It would surprise me.
I would like her just to continue for as long as she can, because you just never know.
Yep. Okay, Paul.
I'm going to be controversial here.
Oh dear.
Say
True Blue or something.
No. I would say probably after 1999 and Beautiful Stranger, and this would be her last album. That's what I would say.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Okay. For me, I agree with the ladies, which would be Confessions on a Dance Floor. Why? I think it's her last great album. It's a good listen, and I think it's a real nod back to her roots when she was, going late 70s, early 80s, doing the nightclubs and so on. It's a real dance pop album there, and obviously it was very successful as well. I think sales over 9 million, a couple of big hits and Hung Up and Sorry. So yeah, and I think her finger was still on the pulse there. So which she had been for nearly 20 years by that point. Yeah. So that would have been a good time to have went out on top. But we're glad she's still going. So there's no doubt about it. So the second question I had here was around maybe a more serious one, and that was, I think, ageism and sexism in pop music. And I know before we started recording, we were having a laugh around that. We're talking about the Madonna photo shoot, which I think was from last year, where she was widely ridiculed for, I think in particular, one photo where she was, I think her top half of her is underneath a bed and the bottom half of her was sticking out. I know at the time Madonna cited sexism and ageism in that there. And as ladies, as females working in the music industry, what do you say about sexism and ageism? Is it something you've experienced as artists?
To certain degrees, the sexism thing with, it's like sometimes we get called girls or lassies, and that's nice because people are just being affectionate, but I think, you know, I think sometimes it feels like you're being spoken down to at times, because it's normally men that they say, oh, here's the lassies here, or here's the girls. It's like, well, actually, we're kind of working professionals here. Like, you know, we're actually older than you think we are. And for me, that's a bit of a bugbear for me. And in terms of working with certain people in the past, there's been that. Certainly for me, if I speak up or if I express that I want something done in a certain way, that causes an atmosphere, it causes a discomfort with that person that's working on the song. And for me, I'm just like, well, I'm the artist, I'm the creator. I want to work with someone to help to make my vision come alive. I don't expect to be like, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's like you're not allowed to have an opinion or want to make a decision or want to change your mind about things without it causing an issue. And I don't like that way of working. I mean, that certainly happened to me working about 6 years ago. And I was treated very badly by a certain production company. And it wasn't a good experience. And a lot of that was down to misogyny, and it wasn't meant to be, because I know the people didn't mean to, but that was just inherent in the culture of, you know, or you're the little woman and you'll just do as we say. It's like, well, no, I'm the paying client, I'm actually paying you. And I want you to help to do my vision. So there has been a wee bit of experience of that. In terms of ageism, I've not really experienced that, if I have to be honest. What about you, Marissa?
I've not experienced ageism yet, but I think internally I've always felt a kind of clock ticking on me. Ever since I was, you know, like even when I was like 20, I thought I was too old to be, you know, pursuing a pop career. Because you think, well, you know, so-and-so is, you know, Alicia Keys, by the time she was 18, she already had recorded her first album, and, you know, it's hard not to put that clock on you. But I think now, when you see some of the artists that are still out there, still smashing it, you know, well into their 40s, 50s, 60s, like, I don't know if you guys know a jazz and blues singer called Sharon Jones. She a band called the Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. She never got her big break till she was, I think, early 50s. She'd been trying her entire life, and it was a bit of a shame actually, because she got her career off the ground in her 50s, and then I think she got cancer and passed away not that long after it. And just thought that was a bit of a shame, but I just thought that was great that she still kept going, still kept doing what she was doing.
Persevere.
And then at some point in her career, people realised how good she was and what she had to offer. And I think that just gives you a bit of incentive to keep going. So
I think there's definitely more expectations on women to look a certain way for as long as they can. and that's just not natural, right? I mean, you see all the stars succumb to the pressures that are put on them with the amount of plastic surgery they have to get done, boob jobs, Botox, everything. Don't really hear as much with men having to do that. And in fact, you know, for men to go grey or lose their hair or have thin hair or white hair, it just makes them, like, you know, slightly more distinguished and more wise, and it feels like no one really bats an eyelid. But if a woman had to go grey and let her actual real hair colour actually come through, which is the majority of your older female artists and actresses that are out there, are all probably grey and all got to dye their hair, you just think, well, why do they have to do that? Because an industry will just write them off. And you're seeing much more visibility now of people, all shapes and sizes, are getting modelling deals, and they're embracing the grey hair, they're embracing that. So this is all really, really positive. Seeing people like Lizzo and stuff just out there and doing their thing, which is great. But you think back to early Madonna years, it was a different landscape, really different landscape, and I think there's still a lot of pressure on women to look good, which can be quite unsustainable at times when, like, you're fighting nature, you're fighting the body clock, you're fighting everything that's going on around you as a woman at a certain age. It's really difficult.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do think there's more pressure on females, and I also feel like as a man you can kind of grow old gracefully and you're still kind of seen the same in some ways, whereas for a female, even in the acting business as well, it's almost like, all right, you're too old now. Or I'm thinking of a couple of singers though. I'm thinking of like Debbie Harry. She was like in her mid-30s when Blondie became big, and Tina Turner when she kind of had her comeback when she became her most popular. She was in her 40s. So, but that's maybe more the exception than. But hopefully, you know, hopefully things can change now, actually, because people, like you're saying, people can be any age and still do some amazing work.
So where does Madonna lie in all of this then? So I know she has called out ageism and sexism. Is she helping her own cause of late with some of the decisions she's made and some of the photographs and such like she's put out there?
For me personally, I didn't like her last batch of photographs on Instagram. I just thought they came across quite smutty and lacking in sophistication. Okay, she was expressing art, and that's up to her to do what she wants, and I can easily just basically just not even look at them if I don't want to. But I just looked at it thinking I would have respected you more if you'd not done that, if you'd done something a bit different that wasn't so sexually explicit. I think the world has maybe moved on a little bit, and I don't think we all have to be flashing our bits out there on Instagram for everyone to see. I think it's nice to have a bit of mystery, and going back to Real Light and how she looked on that album, fully dressed, she had the glint in her eye, she had that sexiness about her and sophistication. You can still be like that as an older woman in your like 60s, like she is now. She can still look sensational and dress really well. I just felt like it didn't really benefit her. I don't know what that went to prove. Like, I just didn't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because, you know, she's obviously someone who likes to do that. You know, like I would never want to put myself out there in that way, even if I was 20 or whatever. You know, when she started first, you know, put herself out there in a provocative way. So it's hard to comment because maybe she has that need in her to want. I don't know if it's like, you know, she still looks amazing for her age, and maybe she just needs that validation, that kind of admiration that she's had her entire life on how she looks. Maybe it's really, really hard to get away from needing that that kind of admiration. But yeah, I would agree with Caroline. I just think it's a much more classier to keep yourself a bit more hidden, but it's not my
just personal
it's just
preference for us.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you for that. That was interesting. Let's lighten the tone slightly with the
It's gone
final.
a bit dark, isn't it?
It
Can I
has,
just say
yeah.
before we do that that there's nothing wrong with an older woman as well. I'm married to one, so
Smashing.
So-
there you go. See?
so
Absolutely.
there you
Yeah, there's
go.
nothing wrong with it at all.
No.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we
I'm a
will
big
lighten the tone now. Yeah. So albumism.com did a poll 1 year ago asking its users to select their favourite Madonna album, and there was over 18,000 votes cast. I wanted to ask each of you, what do you think was the most popular album? So Paul, I'm going to come to you first.
Like a Prayer.
Okay, you're going with Like a Prayer. Okay. Caroline?
Does that include compilations?
Yeah.
It does not. Oh, you're getting down to brass tacks here. Yes,
I know.
it's studio albums. I think if it wasn't studio albums, I think the Immaculate Collection would be winning all day long.
Yeah.
But yeah, studio albums only. Yes. So Caroline, what are you thinking?
So you don't know out of those 18,000 people what the age demographic is, because that would totally
I'm afraid
sway
I
it.
do not have that information.
I want to say Like a Virgin. Is that an album?
Okay, that is an album. Yep.
Yeah,
So you can Like a
yeah.
Virgin. Alrighty. Big seller. I think it was 20 million plus.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah,
remember
that's
correctly.
Yeah.
Massive.
I think
Yeah,
I'm going to change my mind and go for the
Ah,
same
can't you
one.
change your mind now?
I'm changing my mind.
Okay, Marissa, we're coming to you and your changed mind.
I'm changing my mind. Yes, I'm going for that as well. Like a Virgin.
Oh, Like a Virgin. Okay. So here we go. The favourite Madonna album on the albumism poll was Ray of Light.
I should have
Oh,
changed.
right, okay.
That was my original answer. Ray of
what you
Light,
get
and I
for being a
changed.
silly
Yeah, I'll
sausage.
just edit it, Marissa, so that you answer
Yeah.
Ray of Light. There you go.
I just
Yeah,
figured
so you
Caroline
were
normally
first.
gets these things right, so
There you go. See.
I was
Yeah, I'll
going to
give
say
you the
I'm
top
breathless.
five.
I'm breathless one. The
I'm
Dick Tracy one.
Breathless. Is that what is in the album or your current physical state?
Probably both.
Right, okay, number 5 was Music. Number 4 was Like a Prayer. 3 was Confessions on a Dance Floor. Surprisingly, number 2 was Erotica.
Oh no, I didn't like that one. No.
So I
Not
thought
for
that
me.
was surprising. Yeah, number 1 was Ray of Light. So yeah, quite some surprising selections in there. Coming on the 1st of December, our look at the remastered Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion albums and our combined Use Your Illusion album playlist. We've opened our heart tonight, but it's time to say goodbye. So thanks to Caroline and Marissa from the Eves for joining us, and we hope you cherish the time we spent together.
Stephen, enough. Come on.
You definitely need a holiday after this, don't you?
Holiday.
Celebrate, it's the end. So is there anything you guys want to promote or say before we finish up?
Just to follow us on all the socials that you can possibly find. We are at the Eves Music on Facebook, Twitter, and we are at the Eves Music UK on Instagram, and we've got a website as well, theeves.co.uk. And we've got our headline show on the 19th of November in Irvine at the Harbour Arts Centre, so it would be great to see some of you along there as well. So yeah, keep in touch, give us a wee follow, check out our music.
Perfect. Thank you, and good luck with your future endeavours. So thanks to you and our Thanks to you for listening, and until next time, keep trimming.
Trimming the Musical Fat podcast is a Stephen and Paul Nicholson production. Contact us via voicemail by going to anchor.fm/TTMF/message, or tweet us at musical trimming, or email us at trimmingthemusicfat@gmail.com. Keep up to date on the show by joining our Facebook group or visiting our website www.trimmingthemusicalfat.com. Or support us financially by going to Patreon and getting some great podcast exclusives.
I love it. I love it.